Ever wanted to create your own sci-fi vision and plop it right into real-world footage? Now that's easier than ever before. We at BorisFX have partnered with our friends at KitBash3D to get you a bundle that will kickstart that idea. With a brutalist 2055 pack, the intimidating Trooper Mech, and your own Starship Fighter, as well as 3 months licenses of BorisFX Optics, SynthEyes and Mocha Pro for a great low price, you should be all set. I'm Christoph Zapletal for BorisFX, and today I'm going to show you how to match move your shot in SynthEyes so that your KitBash models will sit in your scene seamlessly. Let's get started. Right now, this shot of a lighthouse doesn't look too futuristic. Luckily, my colleague Renee created some great concept art for us using KitBash3D and BorisFX Optics. So our task is clear. Change this beautiful beach into a futuristic world. Naturally, our first task is to create a proper match move within SynthEyes. By the way, if you want to follow along, we've included a download link for the footage in the YouTube description. Let's open up SynthEyes and start a new project. For starters, let's auto-solve this shot. Right here in the summary room, hitting the auto button will make SynthEyes look for trackable features and solve a camera from those trackers. Okay, this already doesn't look too bad, but I want to make sure to have a lot of features in here so that we can create ourselves a mesh of the dunes. That will definitely be really helpful once we start placing our KitBash assets. As the auto button performed 2 actions, tracking the features and solving the scene, we need to hit undo twice. You can use the undo up here in the menu bar or undo via the keyboard shortcut Ctrl or Command Z. Before we redo our track, I want to make sure that SynthEyes does only look for trackers in sensible areas. Let's head over to the roto masking room and use MaskML to create a quick garbage mask of the sky and the ocean. Once we click the MaskML button, the machine learning model will load into the graphics card. Just click the areas you want SynthEyes to ignore and press the 2 arrows in the floating window to process that mask. Once you hear the chime, SynthEyes is done. Now we can move over to the features room. Here we've got really great controls to define what SynthEyes will consider valuable tracking data and how many trackers it will create. Open up the advanced panel. For a good mesh we are going to need a lot of trackers, so let's bump up the maximum tracker count to 500. Also, we are working on UHD, so I want to change the parameters on what SynthEyes considers trackable features. A small blip value of 10 and a big blip value of 20 should hit the sweet spot. Close the floating advanced panel and let's create these blips for all the frames. Now we are looking at the raw tracking data, but by hitting Peel All, SynthEyes will convert 500 of them into actual trackers. Great! Next up, we need to solve our scene, so appropriately we are going to head over to the solver room. For starters, let's just hit the Go button to get ourselves an initial solve. We end up with an error slightly above 0.8, but if we take a look at the error curve mini view down here, we see a couple of red spikes indicating big differences between the 2D trackers' positions and the solved position of these trackers in 3D space. There are a couple of things we can do to get a better result. Click the checkbox to calculate lens distortion and change the solver mode to refine. Pressing Go again, we see a slight improvement. Let's get rid of bad trackers throwing off our solves by going up to the Trackers section in the menu bar and select Clean Up Trackers. Click the checkbox for bad trackers and activate Show. If we now select all the options presented to us, we will see all the trackers that will be either deleted or curtailed by this operation. So this will cost us a few of our 500 trackers, but there will still be more than enough to generate ourselves a mesh. We can leave all the values at default and just hit Fix. Once we refine again, our error value is down to a comfortable 0.4 and all the spikes from our error curve mini view are gone. Awesome. Next up, we need to align our scene a bit. As this is a very organic landscape, there's not much to align a ground plane to. But luckily, with a lighthouse we've got a structure which can tell us which way is up in the scene. To better identify the lighthouse in our point cloud, let's recolor the trackers on the lighthouse. Switch on over to the 3D room. Lasso select all the trackers on the lighthouse and then click the color pot up here on the left. Change the color to your liking and then click the Hold button so that we are able to move the entire scene. Choosing the Rotate tool, I can now angle the whole scene up until the lighthouse is straight. Changing to the translation tool, I can arrange the camera path along the z-axis and bring the first dune near the origin point of the coordinate system. And now let's generate this mesh. In the quad perspective view, press Alt and the middle mouse button while dragging the mouse to move yourself into a bird's eye view of your point cloud. Deselect whole. And now just lasso select all the trackers you want to be part of your mesh. Open up the mesh toolbar in the perspective window and click Convert to Mesh followed by Triangulate. With that mesh, you'll have a better base for building out your world. To see the mesh and the footage from the camera points of view, just hit L on your keyboard while hovering over the perspective view. One thing I'd like to do while we are in the 3D room is to block out our scene. The KitBash assets are incredibly detailed and complex, so to keep things speedy, I will start out with some primitives. To stay true to our concept art, I put a pyramid here by selecting it from the drop-down menu and put it in its proper place by using the various transform controls. Let's put another building here by choosing a box. The mech, however, is pretty close, so I cannot easily find a position for him with primitives, as that would obscure half my picture and not really give me a feeling on how the camera moves along the mech's gun. I exported an OBJ file of that mech from Blender, so let's bring that into our scene. Go to File, Import, Mesh, and select your OBJ. As this is just for blocking, we can happily strip the normals. I want to position him really close to the camera to give this scene some more depth. And that's it. Now you can export this to the CG application of your choice and populate your scene with your KitBash3D assets. I chose to export myself in Alembic for Blender, but as you can see, SynthEyes offers you a myriad of exporters to best work with your software. Inside of Blender, I arranged the assets pretty close to my proxy geometry, and then also animated the little starfighter along a path. With Mocha Pro, I generated myself some holdouts for the foreground, middle, and background to properly layer in the renders from Blender. If you want to get the most out of your Mocha license, check out the great Mocha Essentials course by Ben Brownlee and Mary Poplin. The link is in the description. Finally, I took everything into Nuke for final compositing and gave it some finishing touches with BorisFX Sapphire. I hope this little video helped you in kickstarting your own sci-fi idea. We really can't wait to see what you come up with. To get the most out of your BorisFX KitBash3D bundle, check out the tutorials by my colleague Renee, where she used KitBash3D and BorisFX optics to create concept art for shots like this one. I'm Christoph Zapletal for BorisFX, and I will see you in another video.